All right, we're back. Celtics signed Luka Garza and Josh Minott within the first 24 hours of free agency. However, that means that they will have to make another trade this summer, at least by the rules that they've been playing by. Pointed out by multiple people, Jared Weiss of The Athletic and Keith Smith of Spot Track. The Celtics signing Josh Minott has put them back over the second apron threshold, a point which they have worked tirelessly up to this point this summer to avoid, which effectively has signaled that there is more to come. They're going to have to make more trades. I mean, we heard from Jay King of The Athletic that they were considering trading Simons to give them room to sign maybe, Cornette, bring him back. That didn't happen. Horford, that doesn't look like it's going to happen. Maybe it has not happened by the time you're hearing this in the morning. But what we do know after, the Celtics' first couple signings, more trades are coming.
More trades are coming. They're probably not fun trades. It's probably not going to be ooh, what a great move they just made, getting the notification to your phone. It's going to be, you're going to come onto YouTube, you're going to see the two of us, and we'll all mourn and commiserate together. That's probably the type of deal that's incoming. I mean, look, maybe they could turn Simons into somebody who doesn't make a lot of money that's somewhat fun, but it's not going to be somebody that you're like, oh, wow, like, can't believe they got this guy. They're going to use him down the line in the future and he could be a big part of a championship team. If that's the case, it's going to be just that, an if. It's going to be okay, maybe they can turn him into that. Maybe this guy turns into a great fit on a title team. But for now, it's going to be a project. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a long time. I don't even know off the top of my head who the guys would even be for Simons. We haven't dove that far into it. Milwaukee's doing
Not
all
since the
kinds of stuff
draft.
today.
I don't think they're gonna have room. I mean, theoretically, maybe they can trade you Vasa Misic and or Bobby Portis,
Ooh.
and then you figure that out. I like Milwaukee for Anfernee Simons. They desperately need a point guard at this point, so I think that could make some sense. Depending on what the Pacers want to do, like theoretically, they could use another scoring guard with Halliburton that next season, but maybe they would just rather take the gap year. I don't hate it for the Mavericks. I just don't know how they get there.
But they got
Like,
D'Angelo Russell now. Like they kind of don't
yeah,
need it
but
as much.
they don't. But Kyrie's going to miss most, if not all, of next season,
Correct.
and Simons is on an expiring. So if you really want to upgrade the offense next to the defensive front that you formed, I could understand why they might consider it. The Grizzlies signed Ty Jerome, so I don't think they're going to be an Anfernee Simons market team anymore. Like the Mavericks make some sense to me. I don't know what the package would look like. Maybe the Kings if they want a point guard, but they just signed Schroeder, so maybe they could view Schroeder as a six man because I don't really know what the Kings are doing, but if they're trying to win, maybe they would like it. But also they Celtics could also just dump George Niang or trade Sam Hauser. Maybe they crack open does anybody have a monster offer for the other two guys? But it feels like it's going to be Simons. It feels like Simons probably won't play a game as a Celtic. That's just the general idea in my head.
Can Minnesota get there? Or are they too cap frozen to be able to
Let me
do
take a
that?
look. So Spotcheck hasn't updated with the Simons trade yet because it's not official. The Celtics still haven't made the Simons trade
I
official, which
see.
maybe is suspicious in and of itself. Um, I also don't believe Spottrack is updated with the with the Randall extension. It looks like.
On Spot
Um,
Track, I have the cap table open, and it has
mhm.
Randall, Reed, and Joe Ingles all as purple pending
In
transactions.
spot
So
on
they are not.
Spottrack, where
Yes.
on the trade machine?
No, on the actual
Oh, okay,
salary cap table. I
okay,
was just
yeah,
looking to
yeah.
see how much space they even had.
That's fine. I'm on the trade machine right here. I'll
Hmm.
share my screen so you guys can understand what I'm looking at least here. Um, I'm gonna try to make it a 3-team trade just for the sake of like doing it. But theoretically, right, if the Wolves were to get in on the Simons, train or try to make it happen, Drew Holiday, obviously Portland, then you would send Simons to Minnesota. Maybe like Portland wants DiVincenzo, Boston takes Conley, and then I mean they'd have to get there with minimum contracts. They'd still be 8 million away, or no,
From
because I mean the Blazers would be over. So theoretically, it would work if the Celtics took back both DiVincenzo and Conley. That would shed about 5-ish million, but I don't even think that works for the Timberwolves because they
The
just
Timberwolves right now are 1.8 million over the first apron with their pending contracts in, and they have 10 million until they hit the second apron.
yes. So I think they would have to send out this remaining 5 million, which theoretically they could get there with roughly like Terrence Shannon and or Leonard Miller, but then you'd have to like those guys would have to go to teams. So like I think, and that could be wrong because Spot Track hasn't updated with the signings they've made. Theoretically, maybe the Celtics could do like DiVincenzo, Conley, and Leonard Miller back to Boston. Anfernee Simons goes to the Timberwolves, and then the Blazers take on obviously Drew Holiday and then Terry Shannon to their TPE. Is that worth it for the Timberwolves? Would they do that? Would the Celtics do that? I mean, they give them players they could flip again, but like, I feel like there would be a lot of moving parts if that was the case because I don't think these numbers are exact either.
Does Denver do it?
Huh?
I don't know. I don't know who Denver would be willing to part with to take this deal back to like give
I don't think
them
so.
a great sixth man. I don't know if the fit's there. I'm just looking through rosters where I'm like,
I don't think they would
they
have
don't
the
have
salary to send back. Yeah,
yeah to match like okay,
Gordon
so
or
if you're
Brown.
Denver, you want to keep Jokic, you want to keep Murray, you want to keep Gordon, you want to keep Johnson. Also, probably want to keep Jonas Valanciunas.
And
You would want
Brown.
to keep Brown,
So
Watson,
it just couldn't
Zeke
happen.
Naji is one guy who they may not care about keeping.
But they need to get
It's
to
just saying.
27 million. I just don't think they can get to
Do they need
27
to
million.
match it? They have 2.8 for the first apron. Yes, they do, because then they would second apron themselves if they.
You have to match it unless you are like over the unless you have cap space. Like, aprons don't matter when you're matching salary. Like you have to match salary unless you are like unless you are not a first apron team, I believe. Like something around there. So like if you're an apron team or close to it, you can't like you have to like match salaries. I think the Kings make sense, at least if they're acting as if they are trying to compete in the Western Conference, which they seem to be.
Pistons are another one that I like.
Well, they just used all their space on Duncan Robinson, so I don't think they have the flexibility anymore.
Let's see. Yeah,
I mean, Duncan Robinson's they just paid Robinson 16 mil a year, so I feel like
unless they're
it takes
trying
that
to part
away.
ways with Ivy, it doesn't make any sense. They brought in Levert
Yeah.
too. Absolutely right.
I don't think that'll happen.
There just aren't a lot of teams that would need an Anfernee Simons type.
I mean,
teams that would want to be competitive.
Depending on how their books look post all the moves that they're making, theoretically, because what have the Kings done so far in free agency? Who have they signed? According to can you look up their page and tell me what is pending for the Kings right now?
Sure. Pulling them up right now. I was just looking at the Cavs. There's no way that they'd be able to afford anything like that. Okay. Sacramento's pending signings bring them 62 million above the cap, 9.6 million.
What are they though? Like, what are the signings? Just remind me.
Okay, they've signed Schroeder and they've signed Drew Eubanks.
Okay, yeah, Schroeder's gonna mess it up a little.
Or 14.3, and Eubanks is 2.3.
Mm-hmm. Theoretically, I think the Kings could get there if they send out Malik Monk.
And Monk.
Well, they would have to make that a big deal then, because Saric can't be re-aggregated with other salaries for a little while.
Okay.
Right. Unless they make it part of a big deal. Because how much does he make?
He makes 5.4.
It could get tricky, but I think the Kings could theoretically get there. So maybe if they like Simons more than Monk and value the fact that he's on an expiring, they do it. That way they can just be off the money sooner. So like maybe that's an avenue the Celtics can take on Malik Monk, and then maybe give out like a couple seconds because I think Malik Monk probably has a little bit better value than Simons, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Then you get to the George Nyang teams. Yeah, but Monk is on a more cost-controlled, cheaper, longer contract, I think.
Okay, let's think about our George Nyang friends, shall we?
George Nyang gets a little harder because he's on an $8 million deal. I mean, theoretically, you could waive and stretch him, right? Like the Dame,
new
obviously, but
move that everybody's doing.
but that would get you like what? It would be over the course of 3 years, so it would be 2 point something a year. That would shed some money instantly. If you really get desperate, you could do that, right? At shed around 6 mil this season, so that's not terrible. Outside of that, like maybe you call up the Heat and say, hey, do you want a better forward? You want the better shooter? But past that, it's like who has the TPEs, right? Who has the TPEs who can take him in? Is there a way for you can search TPEs?
I am just looking at Houston's roster right now to see if they have anything that they'd be
Because
able to do.
you wanna send him without getting anything back, right?
Right.
Um,
Houston would have the max
technically,
for sure.
technically, I believe technically the Timberwolves could do it because they have an $8.7 million TPE in the Kyle Anderson trade. So if they want an extra shooter, I don't hate it. But they also just signed Joe Ingles, and I'm not going to say they're the same player, but they're relatively similar.
What is the
Ingles is
real
older,
difference? Yeah.
but other TPEs that could fit it around the league, the Pelicans. Well, that also the Timberwolves expires on the 6th of July, so they would have to do it pretty quickly
Ooh.
if they wanted to do it.
Neither one of
The
these trades have been made official, right?
which ones?
Nyang or Simons.
No.
Hmm.
Okay, so the Mavericks have an $11 million TPE. Would they want George Niang? They already have some forwards, but like if they want extra shooting, maybe that could be something. The Kings have one, the Bulls have one. I don't think either of them make a ton of sense. The Pelicans have one. I don't think they make much sense either. The Hawks have one, but they can't take him back because they traded him. So the Heat actually do have a TPE if they would like George Niang, if they want to add some extra shooting without taking much back. So I think theoretically they could take on that contract if they were okay. Um, the Cavs could just take him back.
They have a
I
TPE?
they have a George Niang TPE from when they traded him to
Are you
Atlanta.
allowed to do that? I guess because he's
I
been
don't
on different
know, but
rosters
he's
since
been
then.
on. So theoretically, maybe, and then the Warriors have a Kyle Anderson TPE, so maybe the Warriors could take him.
Kyle
So
Anderson just
there
giving
are some
everybody
spaces.
TPEs.
Now, the more intriguing option, if you're in the camp of the Celtics should extract value, is what teams have Sam Hauser size TPEs, right? Like that could be a question you could also ask. And the answer to that question, Sam Hauser is making just over 10 million. The Mavericks have an $11 million TPE. So if they wanted to add Sam Hauser and dish out some first round picks or a first and a second or whatever, they could theoretically do it. Bulls, Kings both have it. I don't know if they're going to be in that position, but technically they could. The Pelicans technically could. The Hawks could if they wanted to get Sam Hauser to be a shooter next to Trae Young. The Heat could if they wanted to. It's the same teams. The Heat could and the Warriors. No, the Warriors could not. I lied. But the Heat could. If the Heat wanted Sam Hauser, theoretically, they could replace Duncan Robinson by giving you some picks for him. So there's options, right? The Celtics have options. They have ways that they can get under this. Anfernee Simons, ironically enough, might be the most difficult way because he makes such a big contract that you have to send stuff out. But the Yang and Hauser's contracts are small enough where you can fit them into TPs or into cap space or into something somewhere where you can get nothing in return.
Technically, you
You
could do
also
both if you
you could
wanted.
do both if you really like. And after the Himmelsbach report of them maybe wanting to get under the luxury tax line, maybe they end up doing both, and they really just enter a we're going to scrap this for this year. But more trades are coming. Head on a swivel, everybody, this summer. Head on a swivel. Trades are coming for the Celtics. They're going to happen at some point. I don't know how soon, but a lot of stuff is going to happen. What's okay? So my question to you: if you are trading Anfernee Simons, what do you want back? Is it like in addition to the cap flexibility? Like we're going to assume that any trade you send out is cap flexibility. Do you want players on 1-year deals? Do you want younger players? Do you want draft picks? Like if you had to pick one of anything, say if this was coming back in an Anfernee Simons deal, it could be a specific player if you'd like. What would you say? Okay, I want this specific thing coming back.
Ideally, you want to get picks. Because if you think about just putting together a roster for when Tatum is back, like, okay, the Celtics have lost Cornette. All signs are pointing to them also losing Horford. You are without a big man at this point, even though you brought in Luka Garza, you brought in Justin Minnow, you've brought in the 3 draft picks. What are your real avenues to getting more talent? Like to start rebuffing the roster? It's you have to either find guys that are undrafted free agents take on development projects like a Garza, like a Minot, or you draft well. And next year they could end up punting the season and they could get a high draft pick. And that would be one way they could add a real talented young player. But if they hit on some late round first picks or non-lottery picks, like what, I don't know who would give you draft capital for Simons. I don't think the market for Simons would be, oh yeah, we'll certainly give you a first round pick. But if you can get a first round pick for him, fantastic. I don't even care if it's in like 20s. That's fine. You give yourself more windows to hit on young guys who don't make a lot of money, and they have a higher probability of outplaying their contracts, their value. And that's how you're going to have to rebuff this roster, it feels like. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep robbing Peter to pay Paul by like, okay, man, they have to trade Hauser and Nyang. Hauser, who, by the way, is somebody who should be good enough to be a part of it, or who is good enough to be a part of a championship roster, and should be good enough to where you're not giving him up in a salary dump. But here we are. We just did a 15-minute video on, hey, what if they got rid of any of the three guys who are somewhat talented? All three of the players we talked about in this video bring something to the table. Celtics fans would have some reason to be excited to watch these guys, and yet you would be giving them up in a cost-cutting scenario. So draft capital is my number one answer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. I mean,
is it realistic?
Yeah, that who knows?
I don't know.
who truly knows what is realistic and what's not anymore? I was messing around. The Clippers want Anfernee Simons. Are they interested? Do they want a backup guard?
Do they have money? I thought of them. I was
they
don't have any money.
They have Bogdanovich's $16 million salary.
They do.
They have his big salary.
If the Clippers will give you Bogdanovich and Chris Dunn.
That's the problem, though, because then you run into you're only saving $5 million on the trade.
But then you can flip Bogdanovich in a trade that's like, just take him.
I think you'd have to attach assets to flip Bogdanovich. Is the problem.
How
if you really want to accomplish
assets, because Stevens just got those 4 for second round picks.
My thing is, and you're not gonna like it, if you reroute Dunn, you save $16 million. You save like $11 million in the trade because you're trading 27 to 16.
You could do that too,
right? Like
Dunn,
theoretically,
Dunn age, probably a little older.
Let's say you flip then you run into the problem of like because Derek Jones would probably also have to be in the deal so they can get up to the full salary. It'd be 21, and then maybe they can finesse their way there with minimums. Clippers another option. Regardless, let us know what you guys think. Let us know where you want players to go. I think draft capital is fine. I also think getting like salaries to keep flipping downwards could be important too, especially if you can get guys who are maybe on the younger side. Like, I don't know, if you can just latch on to a couple Josh Minot or Garza types in a deal as well, maybe it's worth it. But I think second rounders, and if you can squeeze out a first somewhere for Simons or Hauser or whoever, could be valuable. But regardless, let us know what you guys think. What do you want the Celtics to do? Where should the trades go next? Appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'll let Sam take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment. Again, like Jack said, tell us where you would like to see any of the cut money guys get traded to. Let us know if we missed any possible destinations, please. You can subscribe and hit the bell because we are here every single day. New content drops Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. New podcast drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps drop the one after each game. And other videos are here in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtic. You can find us on Spotify and Apple too. All pods and recaps are up there. So if you just want those, follow. They will go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that very, very much. You can email us, hbtcpod. Again, tell us how you feel about any potential trades with these guys. I know it's not the most fun thing to talk about, getting rid of guys that they kind of just got, and we all just kind of got excited about, but that's the reality of all this. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter is Jack's Money. Mine's at Sam LaFrance. And that's it for us. Bye.